Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Noma Ihanacho. I have something very exciting and interesting for you. Today I have the pleasure of interviewing Dr. Randy Ross, CEO and founder of Remarkable. He's also a best-selling author of several books, including Fireproof Happiness. And if you can recall, a few months back I reviewed the book Fireproof Happiness. Fireproof Happiness is an inspirational book that gives us a practical guide on how to navigate life and its challenges while finding happiness. And if you've not read Fireproof Happiness, then you are missing out on a lot of knowledge and value, but you still have the opportunity to access the book, as I'll link it in the description box. Do well to check it out. With that being said, let's welcome Dr. Randy Ross to this conversation. First, I would like to extend a very warm welcome to you, Dr. Randy Ross. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I am truly honored to have this opportunity. Could you please introduce yourself and tell us about your book, Fireproof Happiness?
Absolutely, and thank you, Naomi, for allowing me to be a part of this interview. It's great to be with you. I'm Dr. Randy Ross, and I am an author and a speaker. I've written 5 different books. And most of those books are directed toward the corporate community, toward business leaders. We do a lot of work around leadership, but this book that we're talking about today, Fireproof Happiness, was really about emotional health and well-being in a challenging world. It's about how do you face and embrace the biggest challenges that might come your way. And I grew up in my own personal career, started in the not-for-profit space where we had an opportunity to work with a lot of individuals in community type activities, and I began to see then that many people struggle with anxiety and depression, and even more so coming out of COVID. And now that's 4 years behind us and the pandemic is over. But the reality is that people's emotional health and well-being, a lot of people are still struggling with anxiety and uncertainty, with depression, and just having a very challenging time being able to embrace tumultuous times as they come along in life. So I wanted to write a book that would help them and provide some real insight on the link between hope, health, happiness, and productivity. And so that's what we did with Fireproof Happiness.
Thank you so much for sharing that information with us. Moving on, in Fireproof Happiness, you talk about how hope is a strategy, or rather, how hope is the best strategy, which is a different viewpoint from what most people believe. Could you please share more information on that?
Of course. It's interesting. Oftentimes, people will say that hope is not a strategy because when you're talking about in the business world or any other place, oftentimes people have this mistaken notion about what hope actually is. And they often say, you've got to do more than hope, wish, pray. And they kind of lump those 3 things together as if they're non-productive. And I think they're extremely productive. Hope, as you realize now after you've read the book, hope is a dynamic motivational system that's tied to inspirational goal setting. And so goal setting is really the piece that people have to concentrate on first. Where is it that you'd like to go? What is it that you'd like to become? What type of person, are you striving to grow into? And the fun is in the pursuit of the journey. So you want to set inspirational goals that will both challenge you and inspire you to become a better person, to become a better leader, to become a better spouse or friend or parent, whatever the case may be. And so if you think about it from the standpoint of saying, if you were to ask the question, if the people involved in any endeavor are hopeless, then what's the chance of them being able to be successful in that endeavor? And the answer would be absolutely none. And so I believe that hope is actually your best strategy. Now, I agree that wishing is not always productive because wishing is more passive while hope is more active. And I think prayer and faith is a big part of any developmental process. You have to believe that there are resources beyond yourself that you can gain access to that will help you along life's journey. So the whole idea of hope not being the strategy, I think hope is your best strategy, because no strategy that's devoid of hope will ever be successful. And so that's why I like to kind of challenge that mindset and change the perspective that hope is actually your best strategy.
Wow, that was really insightful. Thank you so much. In chapter 7 of Fireproof Happiness, you talked about the reverse engineering of hope. You discussed the 4 mechanisms of hope: the work, the will, the way, and the wait. Could you please share some insights on how individuals can apply these principles of reverse engineering hope in their lives?
So this whole idea of reverse engineering, it's something that's very common practice when you're talking about a mechanical instrument or any device where you want to break it apart, to study it, and then be able to put it back together again. And I think in my mind's eye, I thought, if we can help people see the different elements of hope, because hope for a lot of people is a very ethereal idea. It's hard for them to wrap their mind around what exactly is hope, right? What are the elements of hope and how can you enhance hope? And so I did want to try to share the different working mechanisms of hope. And to your point, what you said, there are 4 basic elements of hope. There's the work, the will, the way, and then also the with. And I'll just briefly explain those. So the work of hope is actually the goal setting. It's dreaming and thinking about what you want to become. It's whiteboarding, it's forecasting your future, it's determining what's the desired destination that you want to strive to move toward. And so the work of hope is the academic. It's the cerebral side of hope. It's thinking things through. Where do I want to become? Where do I want to go? What do I want to become? That's the work. The will is the energy to get there. In other words, what's the enthusiasm, the passion? What drives you? What's the fire in the belly? What's going to sustain you when things get tough and when you face obstacles? So the will is more the volitional. The work is the cerebral. The will is the volitional. And then the way is the agency. It's just the pathway. It's the tactical side, if you want to. So you got the head, the cerebral, the work. You got the heart, the will, which is the volitional, and you have the hands, which is the tactical part. It's the how do you get that done. And when it comes to the way, that's where agility comes into play, where you have to be able to change and morph and redirect as you need to in order to move toward a goal, or as we say in the book, to re-goal if necessary. And then what surrounds all 3 of those components, which comprise a triangle, is the circle, and that's the circle of friendship, the community, the people that you surround yourself with that will help you on that journey toward elevating your hope. So when you understand those 4 different components, then you can begin to devise a strategy to elevate your hope. And there are certain things that you can do in each one of those components that will help crystallize your hope and allow you to pursue a higher level of hope, which then leads to more happiness, more health, more productivity, more sustainability, and all those things that we want in life. So for me, it was just a way to be able to envision and explain the different elements of hope and how they all work collectively to form a whole.
Thank you so much for that response. Moving on, what do you hope readers will take away from Fireproof Happiness, particularly in terms of managing the challenges of life?
There's a phrase, Noma, that came out of the Army War College at the end of the Cold War. And that phrase was an acronym that the Army War College used to describe world conditions at that time. And the phrase was VUCA, V-U-C-A. And VUCA stood for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. VUCA. And I think the world right now, we are living in a VUCA world. But what I like to see from this material getting out into the marketplace and people beginning to read it and embrace it is being able to change that VUCA world, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity, into a CAVU world. A CAVU world means ceiling and visibility unlimited. And that's a phrase that pilots who are flying planes use when they rise above the storm clouds and they look out across the horizon, and all they see is blue sky, unending blue sky. You can see the horizon forever. There are no limitations. There are no visual barriers. There are no clouds. Ceiling and visibility unlimited means blue skies. What I'd like to help people do is turn challenging times into blue skies. That's what I'm trying to write to help people do, is to be able to understand that life, to be full and meaningful, does not have to be free of challenges. That actually challenges are the things that crystallize our character. Challenging times help mold and shape us into the people that we are destined to become. And so if we can see difficult times as refining times that can be used to help us grow, to become better people, better members of society, better family members, to take care of one another in a better way. That's what happens when challenges come our way. If you're surrounded with the right kind of people, those people can provide the encouragement and the guidance to help you get through difficult times. And so what I really wanted to do was to write a book that would help people begin to think through the challenges that they may be experiencing, and then learn how to move through those challenges effectively to be able to grow and actually leverage those difficult times to help improve their personal character and the strength of will. So it's an attempt to provide useful information to individuals who may be struggling with anxiety or uncertainty or depression. It's a tool that I hope people can share with their friends that are going through difficult times to be able to lift them up and encourage them and give them hope. I just want to see people be able to use the content in a way that will help them grow personally. And so that was the reason that I wrote the book.
That's a very deep and important message, and I really hope that it gets to everyone out there. Thank you. There were a lot of inspiring stories in Fireproof Happiness. Which of these stories was the most inspiring and impactful for you?
Well, for me, let me answer that in two different ways, okay? Because there's a favorite story in the book of someone else, and then I'll talk about how it applied to me personally. But one of the individuals that I talk about quite a bit in the book is an individual by the name of Viktor Frankl. And Viktor Frankl was an Austrian psychologist, a neuroscientist who was Jewish, and back during the Holocaust, he was taken prisoner in a Nazi concentration camp. And everything that Viktor Frankl had was taken away from him. His worldly possessions, his home, his family, everything that was dear to him was destroyed in the war. His family members were executed in the gas chambers of Auschwitz. He personally endured incredible atrocities. But he came out of that experience and he wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning. And it's absolutely a classic. It's an incredible book about the resilience of the human spirit, about the capacity to endure difficult times and come out on the other side and be a productive member of society, even having gone through some of the worst atrocities that man has ever committed against mankind. And coming out on the other side with grace, with peace, with forgiveness, with a sense of purpose and passion. And he writes about how we endure suffering and how we see it. And even when man can be grossly indifferent and indignant toward humanity and others, it showed the compassion on the other side. So it showed both sides of humanity, the degradation and destruction that man can bring, but it also showed the incredible uplifting power of the human spirit and the ability to bounce back from life's most challenging circumstances. And through reading Viktor Frankl, you get this picture that no matter what life throws at you, you have the choice. You can be robbed of all your worldly possessions. Your family members can be taken away. Life's circumstances can be horrific, but yet even in the midst of that, there's one thing that people cannot take away from you, and that's the power of your personal choice. You get to choose. You get to choose how you will face challenges. You get to choose who will you become. Even in the most harshest of circumstances, you have the power to control your inner world. And your inner world, when it grows strong, can offset any challenges from your outer world. And so Viktor Frankl's story, for me, is one that's extremely powerful. And so for how that applies to me is that when I face challenging times, I face challenging times in my family. I faced challenging times in my career. I faced challenging times of transition where my job was taken away and had to make a shift in my career. It's actually happened, on a couple of occasions where I've had to recreate myself and bring a better self to the table. All of those are challenging times that we experience in life. It could be a hardship of a crisis, a personal loss of a loved one. It could be challenging times economically or politically or just environmentally. We all have our different challenges that we have to face. And it's just a good reminder to me that present conditions, whatever those may be, can actually be conditioning to help us become stronger, better, more productive people in the long run. And so no matter what you're going through, whatever challenges may be coming your way in life, I think it's always helpful to remember that others have gone through maybe not the same thing, but similar things. And they've been able to survive, and they've been able to survive with passion. They've been able to survive with purpose. And that sometimes life teaches us lessons that we're unwilling to learn any other way. And creativity is what you get when all other options are taken off of the table. And so sometimes hardship limits our choices. But when our choices are more limited, we become more refined and more clear in our thinking. And if we lean into those challenging times, then a lot of good can come out of that because we're forced to become more creative. We're given the opportunity to see what options are out there that we haven't thought of before. And that's just a good perspective to adopt in life, because you only have two choices. You can either become bitter over life circumstances, or you can choose to become a better person. And I think that hope gives you the opportunity to step up and become a better person.
Thank you for sharing that inspiring story with us.
Absolutely.
Could you please talk about some misconceptions about happiness that your book addresses?
So everybody wants to be happy. It's the universal pursuit. Since the beginning of time, people want or desire a carefree existence where happiness is present everywhere we turn. But I think that people have this mistaken idea that happiness involves the absence of struggle, or happiness means there are no challenging times. And I think that's a huge misconception, because you don't have to wait until life isn't hard before you make the choice to be happy. Life is always going to be challenging. To some degree or another, there are always going to be obstacles, disappointments, failures, changes of circumstances, challenges in the environment. And so happiness is not getting to a destination where all of your problems go away. Happiness is building and creating a life for yourself in the midst of the challenges. It's the fun of the pursuit. It's setting a desired destination and watching yourself grow in the process. It's about feeling good about your capacity to handle whatever life may throw your way. And I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions of happiness, that hope actually is the foundation of happiness. And I think that people misperceive what hope is because they think that hope is maybe a Pollyanna attitude where people see life as the glass half full, or they wear rosy glasses, or they deny reality. And as we talk about in the book, none of those are true. Happiness is built upon 4 fundamental foundational beliefs. The first belief is positivity, that I believe that my future can be better than today, no matter how bleak today's circumstances may be. And when I believe that tomorrow can be better, then I can strive to make it so. So positivity is the first and foundational belief. Now, it's not enough. Positivity is not enough to get you through the most challenging times, but that's where we have to begin. The second thing is responsibility, and responsibility says, I'm not a victim of circumstances. Life is not against me. I have a say in how my life unfolds, so I'm going to take an active role in building that brighter tomorrow. In other words, I can't control a lot of things around me. I can't control the weather. I can't control the economy. I can't control politics, but I can control me. I can make my own choices, and I can be responsible for how I respond. And so I don't passively sit back like a victim. I'm going to be active in creating the next chapter of my life story. So positivity, then responsibility. And the third belief that we talk about in the book is agility. And it's the ability to change when circumstances dictate. If I have a goal or a desired destination that I want to move toward, and I see that it's blocked and I can't go that way any further, I can always change, or I can go around the obstacle, or I can move the obstacle, or I can get creative and come up with other ways to address the obstacle. So there are a lot of things that I can do. And the principle of agility says there's not just one way to reach any desired destination. There are multiple things that I can do to change and correct course, or alter course, or re-goal when necessary. So I have flexibility. There's not just one path to get to a desired destination. And the last one is embracing your reality. What is your reality? And I think some people have this mistaken idea that hope and happiness is a matter of sticking your head in the sand and not dealing with the reality at hand. And I don't think that's true. I think that happiness is based upon this premise that you embrace the totality of your reality, no matter how harsh it may be. So all of that, positivity, responsibility, agility, and you being able to embrace reality, when you are able to apply those 4 what we call buoyancy beliefs, when you have those 4 beliefs that are solidly grounded, then you can face and embrace whatever challenges may come your way. And that's sort of the foundation. That's the bedrock that clears away all other misconceptions and allows you to forge a future that has an elevated sense of hope.
Thank you so much for addressing these misconceptions about happiness. I would like to ask, what advice will you give to someone struggling with anxiety?
So anxiety is pretty prevalent. I think that one of the things that causes people to experience anxiety is when there's too much emphasis placed upon themselves. In other words, anxiety and depression is the result of us being myopic. I think anybody who's suffering from anxiety, there are a couple of things that they can do that will help alleviate that sense of anxiety. And the first thing is to turn their focus away from themselves and begin to put it on other people. Instead of being concerned about what can I get, what can I receive, I think we need to turn that outward and begin to ask the question, how can I help someone else? What can I do to alleviate someone else's suffering? How can I be a friend to someone in need? When we begin to give and create value for other people, and we take the focus off of ourselves and we begin to put it on other people, then we begin to really understand what it means to live in a connected community. And it's amazing the anxiety that's alleviated when we begin to just turn our focus outward. People who are depressed are very consumed with themselves. Why did this happen to me? Woe is me. And one of the things that I think we can also do, in addition to turning our focus outward, is to begin to express gratitude to others. Rather than to see life through a negative lens, why don't you turn that around and begin to see life as a blessing and an opportunity, and thanking those people who have contributed to making your life good. I think sometimes we forget all of the many people who have blessed us and given to us, and whether that's been love, support, guidance, encouragement, opportunity, whatever the case may be. We all have people in our lives who have served as balcony people, who have encouraged us and coached us up and been cheerleaders for us in the process. And when we begin to express gratitude, it helps us to see the world in a different light. So I would say expressing gratitude, and then also looking at how can I contribute positively in helping someone else in their own personal life. And when we shift that focus off of ourselves, it's amazing how all of a sudden the anxiety and the depression begins to lift, because it's no longer being consumed with what's in it for me and what's happening to me and a focus on me, but it's on helping others. And I think that's the fastest and best way that we can begin to lift ourselves out of anxiety.
Thank you so much for that piece of advice. I know someone out there will find it really helpful.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking the question.
To end this section on a light note, I would like you to describe yourself in 3 words.
Oh, that's a good question. 3 words. I would say passionate, that I have deep faith and deep belief in what we have the privilege to be able to do. So passionate, purposeful, that everybody in life is called with a purpose. And until we understand what that purpose is, we can get lost and we can tend to drift. So I would say passionate, purposeful, and passionate, purposeful. Let's go with productive. I like to feel like we're making a difference in the world. So passionate, purposeful, and productive.
Passionate, purposeful, and productive. That's a very great description. Those are the questions I have for you, Dr. Ross. Thank you. I would like to know if you have anything to add or discuss.
I appreciate the opportunity to be involved in the conversation. Thank you for reaching out and for giving me the opportunity to speak to you and your listening audience. I would just say this, that a book is just the beginning, that life is an adventure. Life is filled with challenges, but those challenges can refine our character and make us better. That the best thing that we can do is to apply hope in our lives to find happiness and fulfillment, to find deeper purpose and meaning, to find passion and productivity. I think all of those things are inherent in that journey of hope. And so I would just encourage everybody to seek to elevate their level of hope, because hope offsets any of the negative consequences of anxiety and depression, like we talked about. And it gives you a much more passionate and purposeful view of the future. And so I just thank you again for the opportunity to be able to be with you today and to share with your audience.
Thank you so much for sharing your valuable insights with us. It has been a very great pleasure to have this section with you. Thank you so much once more.
You're most welcome, and I hope it works out well. And I'm hoping we can do it again sometime.
Sure, that would be very great.
God bless you in your every endeavor, okay?
So guys, we've come to the end of that wonderful section with Dr. Randy Ross, and I really hope you enjoyed it. I hope you also learned a lot of things, because I did. I would like to hear what you learned in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching this video, and don't forget, the link to get the book Fireproof Happiness is going to be in the description box. Do well to check it out, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.